Welcome, team. Thank you so much for being here. On today's video, we're going to be talking about one major thing you can focus on to instantly improve all of your magic performances, and that is angles. So let me introduce the guys. Hey, Jeff. Hey, Rick. Jeff, how you doing?
Hey, doing good. Just so glad to be here with everybody. Thank y'all for joining.
Good. How you doing, Rick?
Great. Happy to be here.
Awesome. And today we are talking about angles and all about angles, and it's such an important topic. Why exactly? Why is it so important, Jeff? Can you expound upon that for us?
It is super important. I love the background you picked out for this topic, by the way. That brings back high school trauma, is what that does.
I was hoping that wouldn't happen. I thought about that.
we just instantly lost 5 viewers. They bounced off the angles. They're like, "What is this math guru?" Angles are well. First off, I thought I'd define it a little bit. Angles are basically your viewing angles, particularly the viewing angles of your audience. So the perspective that they are seeing from their eyeballs outward to where your magic is. And so when we talk about angles in coin magic or card magic, any kind of magic, we talk about the perspective and what audiences can see. And that most people, if you're new to magic, that plays out when you see a big theater stage and when you see why seating is certain spots. And usually the magician is on the stage versus people sitting in the round around them, because there's certain angles that are good to see the magic and that will produce the correct illusion. And there are certain angles that will kill the illusion. And so since we're in the illusion business and the entertaining business and in the realm of make-believe and wonder and astonishment, as performers, we want to control what is going on in our environment. We want to control our angles of what people see so that when the coin vanishes, that they actually see the coin vanish. And then when it reappears, they see the coin reappear. And so if you were at a certain angle in my studio here, you would see that a lot differently. And so we want to know what's going on in our environment. And since we are most of the time, as coin magicians, we're close-up performers. We have our audience really close, within fingertip length. We can reach out and touch them. They can touch our props. We have to be very aware of what they see and what they perceive and where they're standing, because sometimes if you're in a restaurant or a cocktail party or some sort of party or environment, or if you're out on the street performing, people are going to be right over your shoulder. And so you've got to be aware of what's happening. And the guys that are making it, the guys that are really fooling and succeeding and aren't getting frustrated with their performance, are aware of their angles and what their audience is perceiving, because they're going to get better feedback, better reactions, and they're going to fool people for entertainment value. They're going to create more wonder and make better, beautiful magic by knowing their angles. That's why it matters.
That's perfect explanation of that. And it's very interesting that you bring that up, because one other additional point I want to bring up is something, I can't remember if it's from Maximum Entertainment or somewhere I read, is talking about a lot of times we may think that we're getting great reactions and people are just being kind because they can see what's happening, but they don't want to call you out on it. And so imagine how much better your reactions could be if, as long as you're making sure of your angles, and hopefully everybody is thinking about angles, and we just wanted to give you a couple little pointers on how to better your angles today and do that. So I want to bounce it over to Rick real quick. Rick always has awesome ways for us to practice things. Rick, how do you think about angles as you're preparing for performances, or maybe while in performances? What's maybe some things that you think about for angles?
Yeah. Well, something I always tell people, and I've said it here before, but you should be practicing to a camera. Record yourself, and don't use your front camera on your phone where you can see yourself in the screen, because that's the exact same as practicing in the mirror. You want to practice looking into the eyes of the audience, so staring into the lens of the camera. That's your audience's eyeball. And so when you review that footage, and don't go practicing for 20 minutes at a time, just do short 5 to 10 minute little sessions, so that you can sit down and review that and actually get productive feedback, and not get bored with the process, but actually learn and grow from the process. So do these bite-sized segments for yourself, and you'll improve faster that way. Whether it's this one move you're working on, or it might be a whole routine. And in that case, it might take up over 5 minutes to 10 minutes. But yeah, mirror practice is also a good thing. But after that initial phase where you're looking in the mirror just to make sure you're getting things right, and that's when you're first discovering your angle. Like, you're staring at the mirror like, oh, I can't turn that way. Then you move on to recording yourself. Once you've learned those initial angles requirements, then record yourself and do the whole sequence as one piece, and then look at that video footage, because a camera will not lie to you. You can deceive yourself in the mirror as you're staring at your reflection. You might blink as you're doing a slight or whatever, but when you film yourself, the camera tells all, and you're getting a more realistic view of what your audience will be looking at if you're using a camera. And just to piggyback off of Jeff's comment of we need to learn our angles to get the best performance, you can also learn your angles to exploit a particular effect or a slight. And this is kind of, social media magic, or magic you see on Instagram a lot. It's like astounding looking stuff, but it can only be viewed from straight on. And I mean, I'd say nowadays there's certainly a place for social media magic, and people are growing their followings or whatever, and there's success to be had in that platform. So it's another thing to, whereas before people would say, this move or technique is not worth the time or energy because you can only show it from straight on.
Yeah.
Well, nowadays a lot of people are viewing magic on their phone or through these different platforms like Instagram and Facebook, YouTube, where you can exploit these more angle sensitive techniques.
Yeah, I'll jump in there and say with that, because I remember when I was younger, the old timers in the Magic Club said, "Don't waste your time with that. Don't do anything." And now, there is totally a market for that. There's totally opportunity. I think what you're hearing with us guys is maybe being a little bit older, we have a lot of appreciation for the live art and going out and performing before live people, and the practicality, and that most likely, I think in the long run, if you're going to have a career or you want to gig out or anything, you're probably going to be able to make a bigger reputation, a little more. If you're trying to, do a part-time job or anything like that with magic, you're going to do a little more successful if you can perform things real world. But that being said, there's great quality and opportunity in learning to exploit angles. Rick, that's a really good point, because there's great opportunity for huge followings and massive people that will be entertained by your magic, and that's so important. So we don't want to belittle that.
Well, I think what's cool too, if I could jump in there for a second, is I believe I heard Xavier Spade say one time, he was talking something around this realm of, utilize the whatever the circumstances and situation provides you to take advantage of. So if you're on stage, take advantage of like the wings, like the curtains on the stage, and the distance, and how can you do things with that. If you're up close, think about that. If you're on a camera, your view stops right here.
Sitting at a table.
Right,
I'll lap the crap out of stuff.
That's a huge thing. I think so many people overlook that your environment is part of your props. And so if you're on camera, your camera is part of one of your magic props. It's one of your tools at your disposal to create an illusion. It could be, like I said, stage, the curtains, the table, but the camera is a very powerful tool. you just need to be aware of that. If your friend sees you live and they just saw you on Instagram last week, they might ask you to replicate something. It'd be hard to do.
Yeah, there's definitely ways around.
Yeah.
I would typically, just a quick tip for people, when I was in a situation, people I've done that before. Wanted me to do something either, or it's the other way. Somebody will pull out a phone and say, "Can I record something for my Instagram?" And it's like I'm thinking, okay, the thing I'm about to do is not going to work, so let me think. Oh yeah, I can do something for Instagram, and then I have something pre-planned that will work for that. So there's ways around just saying, hey,
Absolutely.
yeah, let me try something different for that, or yeah, you saw that on Instagram, that's awesome. Let me show you something kind of similar. This is cool, and then
Yeah.
do something that would work in person.
Well, I think you probably saw me do that at Magi Fest. Is when somebody was a YouTuber. We had several guys come to our table, and they were plugging our products, stuff like that. But there were certain effects that I would perform just for the camera. I'd jump into those because I know how they would look better. And so, yeah.
Of course, of course.
We got some
Um,
great comments coming in, by the way. We haven't
yeah,
really read
mind
anybody.
if I filter
If you
those?
see me
Yeah.
silence, because I've just been reading. Thank you guys for all your hellos and some fun stuff this morning.
Yeah, good to see you guys as always. I love this greeting, Coiniacs. Good to see you,
Is
Matthew.
that a
Hey,
Warner Brothers character?
yeah, really, Richard, Scott, Guion. I think that's a new person in here. Haven't seen you in a while, but good to see you. Um, Richard got his gold edition traveler. That's awesome.
Woohoo!
And Shiloh, good to see you. Now, Matthew says he recently started what Rick is talking about and recording himself with his camera, and it's a real eye opener compared to the mirror. That's a good point. What would you say to that, Rick?
You won't go back. I mean, like I said, I still use the mirror to, if I'm, here's a little bit about my process. Like if I'm learning something new, if I read it in a book, I'll read it a couple times with my coins in my hands, or maybe it's a card move or whatever I'm working on. Then I'll go to the mirror after I understand and I can remember the steps. Then I'll go to the mirror and like really adjust, like, okay, I need to be pointing this way at this moment, and then whatever, like I can turn. Once I'm in this position, I can turn, and then after that stage, then you go to the camera and try to do it all together nicely. And like you will use that forever now because you grow so quickly with that kind of feedback. And it's now we all have high quality cameras in our pockets. We can record ourselves in 4K. We could do slow motion if we wanted.
Yeah.
And I mean, you'll grow so much faster with if you regularly are filming your practice sessions. And
Okay.
I just
Yeah.
posted something on Instagram yesterday. I took a trip to the mountains recently, and it was so beautiful in the morning, the way the sunrise like shined down into this valley, and I was just practicing like some moves, and I had my camera with me because I was on this trip, so I just recorded some stuff, and so I still regularly practice in front of the camera.
Yeah, for sure. And can we talk? I wanted to flash up here real quick. We we posted that for you, Rick, as well on our page. Just highlighting it because it was so smooth, that practice section. So if anybody doesn't follow us on Instagram, here's our Instagram handle because you want to see all the stuff, and we try to keep up with all the amazing stuff Rick is doing too on his channel, and
Yeah.
you can see him there as well. But I want to say real quick, the reason why I think you learn so quickly, not only are you working on your angles by seeing the recording, you're watching it and going, oh no, I need to move that there, but also you're seeing all of the performance and the angles and everything as a whole, right? Like every time you
Yeah.
do it. So you're not just like stuck practicing this one vanish over and over and over and forgetting about everything else that happens before and after. You're doing the whole thing every time, and you improve way faster.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I would only reiterate like what Rick was saying, like keep it bite size, because if you create 15 minutes of content, you've created 15 minutes of content. So now your practice session instead of 15 minutes has become 30 minutes. It's like thinking like those kids movies where they replicate things like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. You get this machine that produces all this food, and then what do you do with it? You got to consume it. So keep it bite sized, keep it 1 to 2 minutes, 5 minutes max, whatever Rick was saying. If you've got a performance routine and you're going to be before judges at a magic competition, well, then obviously you need to record all 10 minutes at some point, but keep it bite sized chunks so that you'll want to go back and process through it. And that way you don't have to spend 15 minutes before you're back in practice again. So there was an issue recently with one of the baseball games I've been watching, like playoffs baseballs, Astros are in it. And this pitcher, because of an injury to the other pitcher, half an inning lasts 40 minutes. And they're saying this other pitcher has to get back out there and pitch again after his arm has gotten cold. It's like he's starting a brand new baseball game, the opposing pitcher was. And so if you get cold in between, you'll forget what you did and everything. So you want to keep it hot and fresh. So those bite-sized video links, video clips will really help you stay fresh. So you're constantly improving every time instead of going, getting cold, starting all over again, getting cold. Just keep it hot and moving forward.
That's a great point. That's a great point. And so can we move into the last little point here for today is we wanted to give you a couple just practical things that we can think about during performance in order to improve our angles and what to be aware of, what to keep in the back of your mind when someone asks you to perform a trick or you're about to perform a trick. What exactly can you keep in mind? So who wants to kind of share a couple thoughts on that?
I've got a few thoughts. So I'll start first off with, I'll continue with the practice and then go right into why it's applicable. When you're practicing your angles, you got to realize that your camera with the video camera is going to be one angle. Now, when you get out in the real world, that camera could be over here, it could be up here, it could be down there. People are going to be all different heights and sitting at different places. And so that's where your real world application is going to really take you to the next level when you go out and actually try it, because there's always everything's going to be different. And those, if you imagine that your camera was the eyeballs of the audience looking at you, where you practice for that camera, there's going to be more than one, right? And that's another thing. You could set up multiple cameras and practice. Again, some more content to consume. But the idea is you want to be ready with the different angles. And so as you go out to perform, you need to be aware of your distance from your audience, because if, say, an eyeball is up here and a little kid is down here, the same angle may or may not work. And so one of the things that we always talk about, and Rick, I hope I'm not stepping on what you're going to talk about, but we've talked about in several videos in several places, to make these angles work and come together, you step back. And by moving further away, it closes the gap. Now, I'm doing this visually for you to just kind of see it. But by stepping away from your audience, and again, this is my wide angle camera lens here, I'm only moving back 12 inches, if even 12 inches here. But if you take a step back, if you're able to move your feet, work your feet, that you can make those angles line up a little bit better. And a way that you can practice that for video practice is you can take stuffed animals, anything like that, or you could just use a piece of paper and draw little eyeballs and tape them, or stuffed animals, set them at different heights around the room in different chairs. And you can create the different perspectives, and then you can learn how far you need to be lining up to make those angles match with the different eyeballs around the room. Because one of the hardest things to do, coin magicians will often say, is to perform difficult sleight of hand or advanced sleight of hand for children. And one of the main reasons is because we don't naturally think to practice their angles. They're looking up into our hands. And so when a kid is always telling the coin magician, I see it in your hand, they probably are, like, they're not being rude, they're just being kids, they're just calling out what they see, and so you got to love them for it, because they're honest and they're living in the moment and they're not doing anything wrong, they're just telling you what they see. And you don't want to come across as a liar, like tell them no, they don't, or you don't want to get in any kind of argument in performance with a child. That'd be foolish, or an adult that acts like a child. You don't want to be in that argument. And so just being aware, and that's what I'd say is why it's important during performance, is because you want to make that beautiful magic. And so being aware of those things.
Of course. What are your thoughts on that, Rick, as far as in performance angle management?
Well, I've got a little bit of an abstract idea, but not only knowing your angles, but rehearse what you're saying, your script and everything, and the timing of everything. So if you're about to do a move that's a little angle sensitive, or a move that you should be angle conscious of, if you've got a line of patter that you're saying during that moment, you want to look right up in the audience's eyes, then execute that move, and then come back to your hand. Don't be looking at an angly move as you're doing it, because the audience is going to look where you are looking. Now, we're used to practicing our moves in the mirror or on the camera, so we tend to look at our hand as we're doing that move. But I froze.
You did freeze.
You're doing that move.
You're doing the move perfectly.
That retention is killer. Look at the burn.
But this is something I learned a long time ago from John Carney. He would look right into the eyes of the audience as he did something, so that for that split second, you've split their attention from your hands up to your face, and at that moment, that's when you do the move, and then you're going to divert their attention for just a fraction of a second. And so if there is a move that could possibly flash because maybe you're a little more surrounded than you're used to, that's a little abstract idea to take into consideration, along with backing up a little bit, along with paying attention to your elevation and where people's eyes are hitting. Because you may be performing for tall people, short people, people seated at a table, people standing. So it's hard to judge what's the proper elevation, how far do I step back. People are gonna not focus on stuff if you're engaging and looking them in the face, and you've practiced the things you're saying along with these moves. It will actually help your angles and stuff, because people are being entertained by you.
Yeah. Do you remember how Carney said that? He had a quote, and he may have been quoting Ramsey. He said,
was.
if you want people to look at you, look at them. If you want people to look at your object, look at it. Do you remember how he said it? It might have been a Ramsey Carney quote, but
Something like that.
yeah.
I know he was a student of Di Vernon.
Yeah.
He said if you want people to look at something, look at it yourself, and if you want them to look at you, look at them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was how he put it.
Yeah.
So
Good
that's very valuable stuff. That's from John Ramsey, John Carney, and it just goes down the line. And now from Rick Holcomb.
Rick Holcomb.
But one more little tip that I think is kind of fun to play around with Coin Magic as well is playing with the kind of thinking of your performance as if you're on a stage wherever you are. So in your mind, you're thinking about, because there are moves that we do in Coin Magic that are angle sensitive. And so that's why we're talking about all this today. And a lot of times that angle is either going to be almost like a baseball diamond out from you, or it's going to be like a 180 a lot of times. I've seemed to find. And so you can pretend that there's a backstage, and then you're thinking, okay, I could either hold the coin up and the backside is what they can't see. My hidden hand. Sorry, I don't have a coin on me. It's sacrilegious here. But the backstage is what they can't see. Or I could hold it flat on my palm, and now the backstage is directly down below my hand, right? Or if I set it on the table, the backstage is underneath. And so now my hand changes positions depending on where the backstage is in my mind. So that's just another little consideration.
Yeah. So that's using your body to block, to do all that kind of stuff, to use your presence to as another palm. It's another way to
For
It's all
sure.
about finding that next palm that will hide the coin for you.
Well, I want to pull in a couple quick little comments people said, and then we'll wrap it up here. Let's see. Matthew said he'd love to have a video of Jeff performing for a gang of stuffed animals. I think we would all like that. That'd be great. Let's see.
I have to dig one up for you somewhere.
James says he's practicing directing your gaze helps cover moves for sure, just like we were talking about with John Ramsey, John Carney. Definitely something I need to work on, having the confidence to look them in the eye while performing a move. Yeah, I mean, have that confidence, Matthew.
Yeah.
You know, you've put the practice in, and you know you are the director of the show, so you know you can totally do that.
Yeah, particularly while you're doing the move, while you're not impeding. We've talked about recently in the last month or so about impeding on their reaction time. So while during the move, it's very natural, but while somebody's reaction, while having the reaction while they're vulnerable, that's when you need to study and be experienced on that. But you'll do great being confident to stare them in the eye while doing a move.
Exactly. And just be conversational, just like, you know, we've talked about. And I think Rick had a really good thing he said a little while back. I don't think it was on the live stream, but we were just chatting and he was like, you know, sometimes you gotta like, don't take it so seriously. Like it's a coin trick. Like we're having a good time. You know what I mean? Like, and if people know that and they understand that, then when you're looking at them, you're not like, you know, necessarily every time Max Maven and like David Blaine, Max Maven staring people down. Nothing wrong with that, but you know, you could just as easily just be jovial and having a good time and looking at people and looking down and doing your moves, you know. So anyways, we want to go ahead and wrap it up there. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we hope to see you next week. Go make beautiful magic.
Yeah, stay in touch. Check out Recoil if you haven't checked it out already. It's hopping, it's flying off the shelves, and it's going around the world. So congratulations, Rick, on a project well received by the community. And
There's barely any left, but we still have some, so pick it up.
As long as Slinkies are made. No, just kidding. That's good stuff.
It is selling well. So look for it around. It's taken off. It's hopefully we'll see some more videos. First reviews have come in too, by the way. So I don't mean to drag out this live stream, but congratulations, Rick. So some really solid reviews coming on that project. If you're the kind of person that waits to see reactions from other people, appreciate y'all picking it up.
Absolutely.
Subscribe here and stay in touch.
All right. We will see you
Thank
next